Hello, this is Brother Bolton. Joni and I want to thank you for having a passion for getting the gospel into all the world and for your love for missions. As some of you know, since 2007, MVP Missions has focused on sharing the gospel message around the world, encouraging missionaries, and taking others on their very first mission trip. However, recently, our ministry has grown and changed a little. After speaking to missionaries, we learned that sometimes they need to be in the States for things like furlough, medical treatment, or even funerals or weddings, and they prefer American missionaries to stand in the pulpit while they're away. So in addition to our present ministry functions, God has led us to make ourselves available to pulpit fill as well. Many of you have heard about the Nathan Goodpastor family, who have been serving in the Philippines for 6 years. Since 2014, we've ministered with them several times. Recently, the Goodpastors discovered that their 2-year-old son has a baseball-sized cancerous tumor. They immediately left for the States so Jonathan could have the tumor removed and begin chemotherapy. His treatment should last about 18 months. Brother Goodpastor was so grateful at our offer to fill in for him at Harvest Baptist Church. Not only was this church without its pastor and his family, but they had just begun a building program. So we became responsible for all the preaching and ministry duties, and we also oversaw the building process of wall construction, ceiling work, and a handicap ramp. We also designed and ordered the building's windows, doors, and interior paint. Harvest has many caring families. They just need someone to continue loving them and encourage them to be faithful servants of the Lord. In the past 9 months, we've lived and served there for about 5 months, and we're headed back this fall for another 9 weeks. Harvest is beginning to feel like home. We've had several men's and ladies' meetings, teen activities, and we organized Harvest's very first youth rally, with 4 area churches attending. We held a program at a large public school where many children trusted Jesus for salvation. We helped with a brand new church plant, organizing our members on 2 saturation days to distribute 900 flyers. We also purchased their first supply of chairs. Working with Rock of Ages Ministries, we taught at several jails in the surrounding cities, and we were blessed to minister to orphans. Several people were saved at each place. Recently, we started our 40-40 program. The first 40 stands for $40, and the second 40 stands for 4 orphans. In most of the countries we go to, $40 will purchase 110 pounds of rice. Some individuals have sponsored the purchase of the rice, allowing our money to go further and pay for fruit, toys, or shoes. We've taken some adults and teens from Harvest along with us to the jails and orphanages, and these trips have been very eye-opening to them. On Saturdays, we minister to the children in the poorest of neighborhoods. As we visit, these precious kids would hang on to our clothing, arms, hands, whatever they could, and most every time as we leave, they would run alongside our van, laughing and waving as we go by. We learned on our last trip that we could feed the children a nutrient-rich, sweet snack called Tahoe for a very small cost. So before coming back to the States, we had 2 feedings for the children, Tahoe and fresh bread. It's incredible to watch hungry children come running to you with empty cup in hand. One Saturday, we visited another poor fishing village, and there were so many children living there that we decided to have an impromptu Bible club in their neighborhood after Sunday services. We took some adults and teens from Harvest with us, and after some singing and a Bible lesson, the kids received candy, and many received Christ. We call this the Barangay Bible Club. We plan to continue this ministry when we return. The doors of opportunity to witness in the Philippines are truly amazing. Joni and I have a newfound respect and admiration for what pastors go through on a regular basis. One pastoral aspect of ministry that we weren't prepared for was death. There were 4 church-related deaths during our time there, and it led to some heartbreaking scenes. Near the beginning of our last trip, one faithful girl, Mika, recently died of dengue fever, so we brought her family a meal along with our condolences. Later, Danny, a faithful church member, lost his wife Evelyn to cancer. We brought food to their family as well. We were at the hospital with his grieving daughters when their mom was pronounced dead. Danny was working at the time, so we had to wait patiently for him to come, remove the sheet off his beloved wife, and fall to his knees in grief. Our only choice was to endure the sadness in the crowded Open Bay hospital room and wait to comfort and pray with a heartbroken church member, as any pastor would do. We were glad that Danny's 2 daughters were baptized soon after the funeral, knowing that was something their mother wanted them to do. Another tender loss is part of an interesting story. One day while ministering in a jail, Joni was approached by a lady inmate who asked if we would visit her daughter and 3-year-old grandson in the hospital. She said her daughter was not saved and that the grandson had pneumonia. After leaving the jail, we went to the hospital, and thankfully the mother understood the gospel and was saved. But little Riven was so thin, it was difficult to see him in that condition. We brought them some food and prayed for him. A few days later, when we returned with more food, Riven had already died. Our hearts were crushed. We found out where the family lived and brought them 2 carts full of food. And Pastor Jesse, the pastor of Harvest's new church plant, was able to share the gospel in Alongo. And for such a sad day, seeing Riven's tiny little casket on display at the house, we were glad to see that many of his relatives and neighbors received the Lord. There have been some sweet events while we were there too, such as us becoming quite close with the church's young people. We have treated them to ice cream a couple of times and have had them over to our home on Sunday nights to eat snacks and play games. We've had a ball and love to hear their hearty laughter. They surprised us before we left and sang a special song to us called Across the Miles. A couple of them cried as they sang, which made Joni cry right along with them. Like I said, Harvest is now like our overseas home. In the middle of this time, we took a 9-day trip to Qatar while Brother Goodpastor came to visit his church. About 7 years ago, a faithful staff member of a large Philippine church surrendered under my preaching to start a work in Qatar. He invited us to speak for their 6-year anniversary service, and this trip was simply amazing. It was an honor to be their first American visitors, and I was blessed to baptize 9 new believers while we were there. We fell in love with these people, and they treated us better than we deserved. Our 5 months in the Philippines flew by, as time usually does when you are so busy. You can see why we love our ministry so much. We have grown to love the people at Harvest deeply, and we're so blessed to work and minister with them. Thank you for your time, and please always remember to uphold your missionaries in prayer. The devil is real, and so are the battles they face as they serve the Lord around the world.